All right, we're back. We're late again, but we got three more games on the docket for today. Um, Yesterday we went 1 for 3. We were real close to being 3 for 3, but I'm just going to be I'm going to call a spade, and be straight up with you. We had Senegal to advance. Obviously, they were up by 2 goals. I think they got absolutely robbed by that penalty call. I've watched that in replay like 100 times by now. I do not think that was a penalty. I think that was a bang bang play. I think the defensive player had the positioning. And actually, the offensive player stuck his foot in front of him, and actually, it was a foul on the offensive player. But they're going to give those calls to the offensive player. I don't know why they called that penalty though, because they haven't been calling those penalties this entire competition. So very inconsistent. I think the officiating has been atrocious in this World Cup. I think that needs to be addressed by FIFA. Absolute disgrace. All right, so Senegal should have won that match. And honestly, if I use Bet365, if I would have picked them on the money card or on the money line, excuse me, um, yeah, I would have got the early payout. So it sucks. Senegal should won that match. I think they're the better team. I think Belgium just got lucky, very lucky, as a matter of fact. And then in the USA versus Bosnia game, we would have had that one too. But then, uh, Tillman has that magnificent free kick that he scores on, and they win 2-0 instead of 1-0. Now, I did mention that the other bet that you could have taken to get plus money would have been USA money line and then Bosnia +3. Bosnia did not bring much yesterday, which is a good thing if you're a United States fan, which I am. But so we're 1 for 3. These three games today, I can't say I have as good of a grip on them as I did yesterday's games. Only went 1 for 3. So based on that, probably go 3 for 3 today if I'm lucky, of course. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started with this first matchup. All right, in this first matchup, we have Spain going up against Austria. Spain, one of the favorites to win this competition. Austria, who's not just lucky to be here. They had a good qualifying stage. They performed well in the 2024 Euro. And Austria has looked, I think, probably above average in this competition. I think Espanyol, Spain, relative to their expectations, have maybe underperformed just a little bit. And I know that sounds almost blasphemous to say, but drawing in that first game against Cape Verde, a very, very good Cape Verde team that I think everyone has discovered throughout this competition. But this is when I think Spain really gets things going. Okay. They haven't conceded a single goal in this competition up to this point. Okay. So even in that Cape Verde, that was a 0-0 draw. And although they only won 1-0 in their last game against Uruguay, I think that was a Spain that was kind of just trying to control possession, not wanting to make any mistakes in the back, and kind of just riding out that 1-0 victory since they got that in the first half. And Uruguay obviously is just a team that is in disarray at this point. So I think probably Spain could have put more on the board. I think they were, substituting guys out early, knowing that they already had qualification to the round of 32 in the bag. Of course, they want to win the group, but I think they knew that they kind of had that and that they were able to kind of ride out the victory. Austria, on the other hand, here's a squad that only lost one game. So they won one game, they drew, and then they lost that game to Argentina. And I think this is a squad that likes to, move fast. They like to, you know, run on the counterattacks. Okay. Now, one of the things that I noticed about Austria in this matchup is one of the ways that they're able to score their goal, other than on the counterattack, which they're going to have to do in this matchup against Spain because Spain is going to control possession. So they're going to have to take their chances on the counterattack against Spain. And also on the set pieces. We see this with Austria with their top goal scorer in the competition, Arnautovic. That's how they've been scoring a lot of their goals on the corners, on the free kicks, and things of that nature. Spain, on the other hand, they're going to control possession. They're going to do these, nifty little passes into the box where you have a player that's running in from behind the defender. With guys like Pedri passing it to, um, um, I always mispronounce this guy's or Yarzabal, and players like that. Um, Also, Danny Olmo doing the same thing. Lamine Yamal on the right hand side. He's going to be cutting in and passing crosses or taking the ball to the byline and crosses into the box for an Yarzabal to maybe score on a header. I think it's really hard to call this game. It is because I can see Spain just going off in this game, and Austria has conceded in each game in this competition. So, but I still think that the way that Spain is playing is a more conservative, controlled approach where they don't want to give anything up in the back. So they're going to play a high line, but they're not going to take as many risks. And that's going to lead to not as many chances for Austria to be able to get on the board. So I could very, very much see a situation where Austria does not score in this game and Spain wins to nil. And I actually thought about taking Spain to win to nil. I believe it was minus 110 on Bet 365. But what I'm going to go with is I'm going to go with Spain and under 3.5 goals. You can get that at plus money. It's plus 105. I am concerned, and as you can see on the right-hand side on the bottom there, when I show the pick, I have a confidence meter of, 0 to 5 um, little soccer balls there that I have in green or white. You can see I have 2 out of 5 on the confidence meter. These games today, I feel like they're a little bit more, um, not cagey affairs, but just I think it's hard to call some of these games because they're tighter competitions, I think. But Spain is overwhelmingly the better team of these two sides, and I do see them moving forward without a doubt. And I do think they're one of the teams to look out for to win this entire competition. Okay, so let's go ahead and take Spain in under 3.5 goals. By far the most exciting game of the day, in my opinion, is going to be Portugal going up against Croatia. And this game is going to be played at BMO Field in Toronto, Canada, or Toronto, Ontario. This is such, again, it sounds like a broken record here, but this is such a difficult game to call because these are two really, really good sides. And I like both sides. In particular, I like Croatia even more so than I like Portugal. But if I'm being realistic here, Croatia kind of missed their chance, and not that they missed their chance. In 2018, they took it to the final against France. They lose 4-1. In 2022, they take it to the semifinals, and they lose to France in the semifinals. So it's not like it's a situation where we can say, okay, this Croatia team, has underachieved or anything like that. And it's just gotten to the point where their players are at an age where they've lost a step here and there. Okay, so it's sad because I really like this Croatia team. I think Luka Modric is one of the best players of this generation, and a couple years back in that UEFA Nations League final, I wish they would have won that one against Spain in a game which they were really close to winning, but never pulled off. Just to have something, a trophy to show for this great run that this Croatia national team has been on. I think they're going to be able to score in this matchup, but see that's part of the problem is that Croatia used to be able to control possession and dictate the pace of the game. Okay, and that's going to be much more difficult now that again we're 8 years on from that great 2018 team, and we have a Portugal side that their strength is really in the midfield with guys like Bruno Fernandez and João Neves and Vitinha, and they're going to be able to dictate possession in this game. And Croatia is going to kind of have to play on the counter attack. Okay, they're going to have some possession, but I think Portugal is going to control possession in this game. So it's a situation where Croatia kind of has to play outside their comfort levels, and I think they will be able to get on the board as we've seen against a team like England. They still were able to score. They were still able to kind of get in that nifty pass where someone was able to either beat a defender coming in from behind, or just magnificent piece of brilliance by one of their guys, or scoring on a set piece with a header as they did against oh my goodness, I'm forgetting who they played in that last game against Ghana when they won 2-1 to make it into the round of 32. But Portugal, listen, they haven't been necessarily impressive at all. I don't know what the hell's up with this team. This was a team that I had as a dark horse because of the strength of their squad, the strength of their midfield. I think this is one of the most talented groups in the matchup. It's just it's something to do with pressure, with them not acting as a cohesive unit as a team. But you've seen this throughout in almost every game that I've watched Portugal play in, except for maybe a couple when they put it together and blew a team out, which there has been those instances. I don't think that's going to necessarily happen today, but it's just a matter of not being able to put the ball in the back of the net when they have their chances and not taking their chances. And that includes obviously Ronaldo, who has scored in this competition, but in the past has definitely had his struggles in various World Cups. This is his sixth World Cup, so he's had some good ones, and he's had some stinkers. And I'm not saying this is a stinker for him. Ronaldo's obviously, arguably, one of the greatest players of all time. But this is a problem for Portugal with the finishing, with not necessarily even the last pass, but just in the finishing itself and putting the ball in and being able to score, putting the ball in the back of the net. Okay, so um, but I do think Portugal will be able to win this competition. I don't know how much they're going to be able to do, or excuse me, not win this competition, but win this matchup against Croatia. And I say that with a level of disappointment for Croatia because I really wish they can they could go further in this tournament. But I think their time is up, kind of, and they're going to fall just a little bit short against this Portugal side. But I do see them getting on the board. I see Portugal getting on the board, so I do like both teams to score, but I like Portugal to advance. Combine that into a same game parlay, you get plus 137. It's probably my maybe no, it's not my favorite bet on the. We'll get to that one here in a second. But as far as my bet is concerned, let's go ahead and take Portugal to advance plus both teams to score. Last matchup of the day, 11 o'clock Eastern matchup. This game's going to be played at BC Place in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And we have Austria going up against Algeria. Algeria obviously representing the AFCON Confederation, and Austria, or excuse me, Switzerland representing the UEFA Confederation there in Europe. So um, I had mentioned this being my favorite game. I thought about it. Maybe not. It's either this one or the Croatia matchup, but I do like Switzerland to move forward in this game and to handle things in regular time. So I'm taking Switzerland on the money line, and there's a reason for that. I think that Switzerland is going to be able to control this game. That is their style of play, is to control the game through obviously possession, by winning balls. They got a guy like Xhaka there in the middle field, who's their skipper, who is a guy that kind of does everything. It's kind of like how I was talking about Tyler Adams yesterday, but probably to a higher level. This is a guy that was kind of discarded by Arsenal a few years back, went to Bayer Leverkusen, was part of that invincible team over there that was undefeated in the Bundesliga, undefeated in the Europa League as well, won the domestic double. and almost won. Went had an entire undefeated season until they lost that Europa League final against Atalanta when Ademola Lookman, who's a guy I wish Nigeria was in this competition, when he scored a couple goals and beat Leverkusen and put that invincible season to bed. Um, but then he went over. Now he's with Sunderland, and now there's talk about him going over to Chelsea. And at his age, this guy has just gotten better. He's like a fine wine. He's gotten better as he's aged. This is a guy that wins balls, brings the ball up, is just tackling players, so on and so forth, getting getting the ball to attacking midfield so they can get it up to be able to create score, get it to the wide players, get it to the striker, whatever it may be, get the crosses in. This is just a sound side. Okay, they don't do anything wrong. They don't do necessarily anything great, but they've also had this this Manzabi that stepped up for them as a scorer in the midfield, and that makes them even more dangerous with guys like Vargas in the midfield, and then Dan and Doy. On the right hand side, they don't necessarily have that, that striker that it invokes fear into the hearts of the of the opposition, but they are just a team that is sound in the back line, they're sound in the midfield, they're sound up front. So they're just going to be able to control the game. Now, this Algeria side is no joke either. If you've seen them against Austria, that was a really weird game. That last game of the entire group stage, um, on Saturday night when we had this 3-3 matchup. Algeria gave all they could against an Austrian side when they were already in the competition, but I think or excuse me, in the knockout rounds, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they already knew that they were in the knockout stages, so they can kind of just play freely and just go out there and try to score goals and things of that sort. They're going to be a little bit more conservative in this game, and I think they're going to have their possession, they're going to have their opportunities, and I think it's very possible to even get on the board. Okay, so this no disrespect to Algeria by any stretches of the imagination. I think if they were going up against maybe a different side, maybe even like a Portugal side where they might even be able to surprise them, a team that takes a little bit more risks, okay, that plays a higher line where they can on the counter attack have some real chances. Against the Switzerland, there's going to be a lot less chances for Algeria just because of the solid way that they play defense and control the game. So I do like Switzerland to win this game. I'd probably say it's my favorite game of the matchup. I wouldn't be surprised if this is like a 2-1 victory for Switzerland, maybe 3-1, maybe one. I mean, I'm not going to just um, call off a bunch of different numbers of how this game is going to end, but it wouldn't surprise me if Algeria gets on the board. But I do see Switzerland coming through in regular time with the victory. All right, that's all I got for you folks. Good luck on your bets. We'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to try and get this video out tonight if I can for tomorrow's games, to give you some time to kind of marinate on what you want to do, for the very few that are actually watching this video. But if you are watching, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, comment down below. I want to get some comments. Let me know if if you're going with me, if you're fading me, let me know, and I do appreciate it. All right, good luck to everyone. Bye bye.